In the kingdom of Blackthorn, wolves did not simply choose who they loved. Their beasts chose for them. A true mate was not decided by beauty or title. It was decided by instinct, by a pull that could not be denied. For King Cassian Vale, that pull had never come. He was the strongest alpha his people had seen in 100 years, yet his wolf had rejected every woman brought before it. Nobles began to whisper that the king was cursed, unable to ever find his Luna. Far from the golden halls of the castle, in the narrow servant corridors below, lived a young woman named Ren Alden. She was an Omega, the lowest rank in wolf society. Omegas were born without power, without the strength or gifts that other wolves carried in their blood. Most Omegas were tolerated. Ren was barely that. Her own family treated her like an embarrassment, something to be hidden rather than loved. She had grown used to lowered eyes and cruel words. She had grown used to being nothing. Each morning she woke before sunrise to begin her work in the kitchens, scrubbing pots until her hands ached, carrying trays up flights of stone stairs, and cleaning floors that nobles walked across without ever looking down at her. She had long stopped hoping for anything more. Hope, she had learned, was a luxury for people who were allowed to want things. The day of the Luna trial arrived with the kind of excitement that shook the entire castle. It was the 5th trial the king had held, and everyone believed it might finally succeed. Noble families from every corner of the kingdom sent their daughters, hoping that this time, the king's beast would finally accept one of them as his mate. The castle was filled with silk gowns, perfumed air, and nervous laughter. Guards lined the halls. Servants rushed about preparing food and drink for the ceremony. Ren was given no invitation, of course. Omegas did not attend trials meant for the beautiful and powerful. Instead, she was assigned to carry trays of refreshments into the grand hall, moving quietly along the edges of the room where no one would notice her. She was told plainly by the head of staff that she was to be seen as little as possible. She nodded, as she always did, and did not argue. The trial hall was breathtaking. Tall windows let in streams of golden afternoon light. Banners bearing the royal crest hung from the high ceiling. At the front of the room, seated upon a carved wooden throne, was King Cassian Vale. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Though he wore the calm expression of a ruler, there was a tension in his jaw that suggested exhaustion. He had sat through 4 failed trials already. This 5th one felt, to him, like another performance he was forced to endure. One by one, noble daughters stepped forward. Each approached the throne with practiced grace, offering a bow and a hopeful smile. Each time, the king closed his eyes, waiting for some sign from his wolf, some flicker of recognition. Each time, nothing came. His beast remained silent, restless, agitated beneath his skin, but never responding the way it should to a true mate. The disappointment in the room grew heavier with every failed attempt. Ren moved along the far side of the hall, careful to keep her tray steady and her steps light. She kept her gaze low, the way she always did in rooms full of nobility. She was almost to the servant's door when a young noblewoman, hurrying to take her place in line, brushed roughly past her. Ren stumbled, trying to catch her balance, and the tray tilted dangerously in her hands. She caught it just before it fell, but the sudden movement carried her 2 steps forward, directly into the open space before the throne. For a moment, the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. King Cassian's eyes snapped open. His body went rigid. The restless energy that had simmered beneath his skin throughout the entire trial suddenly surged forward, sharp and undeniable. His wolf, silent through 4 trials and countless suitors, roared to life inside him with a force he had never felt before. It was not gentle. It was not calm. It was recognition, pure and absolute, the kind that could not be argued with or ignored. Cassian rose from his throne so quickly that his chair scraped loudly against the stone floor. The entire hall turned to look. Ren froze, her tray still trembling in her hands, unable to understand what was happening. The king's eyes were locked on her, and in them she saw something she had never been looked at with before. Not disgust, not indifference, something raw and startled, something that looked almost like disbelief. Murmurs broke out immediately. Nobles exchanged shocked glances. An Omega, standing before the king, and his wolf reacting this way? It seemed impossible. Ren's first instinct was fear. She lowered her eyes and stepped back, certain she had done something terribly wrong, certain she was about to be punished for interrupting the ceremony. "Wait," Cassian said, his voice carrying easily across the silent hall. It was not a command shouted in anger. It was something quieter, almost pleading. Ren stopped. She did not dare look up. The king descended the steps of his throne, ignoring the astonished whispers around him. He stopped a few feet from her, studying her face as though searching for an explanation his wolf refused to give him in words. "What is your name?" he asked. "Ren, Your Majesty," she answered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ren, Alden. I am only a servant. I did not mean to interrupt the trial. I am truly sorry." "You did not interrupt anything," he said. "You may have ended it." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning that no one in the hall was prepared for. The noble families stared in stunned silence. Some looked offended, others looked simply confused. An Omega, mate to the Alpha King, was not something anyone had imagined possible. Ren felt her stomach twist with dread. She did not want this kind of attention. She did not want to be looked at, discussed, or judged by an entire hall of people who already believed she was worth nothing. "There must be some mistake," she said quietly. "I am an Omega. I have no gifts. I could not possibly be your mate." Cassian studied her a moment longer, his wolf still humming beneath his skin, with an intensity that unsettled him. He was a king who had learned to trust logic over instinct, strategy over feeling. Yet nothing about the pull he felt toward this quiet, trembling servant fit into anything he understood. Still, he was not a man who ignored what his beast recognized as truth, even when the truth was inconvenient. "I do not believe in mistakes when it comes to fate," he said finally, "but I understand this is a lot to take in. You are dismissed for today. No harm will come to you. You have my word." Ren curtsied quickly and hurried from the hall, her heart pounding, her mind racing. She did not understand what had just happened, and she was certain that whatever it was, it would only bring her more trouble. The following days were filled with tension throughout the castle. Word of what happened at the trial spread quickly. Nobles debated in hushed voices whether an Omega could truly be a king's mate. Some called it an insult to the crown. Others called it fate testing them all. Ren, meanwhile, tried to continue her work as though nothing had changed, though she noticed the way people now stared at her in the halls, some with curiosity, some with open scorn. Cassian could not stop thinking about her. He questioned his advisors, searched old records, and spoke privately with the pack elders who had served his family for generations. What he uncovered surprised him more than the reaction of his wolf ever could. Buried deep within old pack histories was mention of a bloodline once feared for its power, a line of wolves whose strength did not show itself at birth, but awakened only when bonded to a true mate. Generations ago, fearing what such power might mean for the balance of the pack, the elders had quietly suppressed the bloodline, marking its descendants as Omegas, and stripping away any acknowledgement of what they truly were. Over time, the truth had been buried so deeply that even the families carrying that blood forgot what they had lost, remembering only the shame of being labeled weak. Ren's family, Cassian discovered, was one of these lines. Her parents had known, or at least suspected, yet said nothing, too afraid of what such power might bring upon their household if it were ever discovered. They had let their daughter believe she was nothing, rather than risk what the truth might cost them. When Cassian finally revealed this to Ren, calling her quietly to a private study away from the eyes of the court, she felt as though the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. Years of believing herself worthless, of accepting cruelty as something she deserved, crumbled into anger and grief. Her own family had known. They had let her suffer rather than face the truth. "They let me believe I was nothing," she said, her voice shaking. "My whole life, I thought there was something wrong with me, and it was a lie." Cassian did not try to comfort her with empty words. He simply stayed beside her, allowing her the space to feel the weight of what she had learned. "You are not nothing," he said eventually. "You never were, and I do not say that because of what my wolf feels. I say it because I have watched how you carry yourself, even after a lifetime of being told you were less than everyone around you." Ren studied him carefully, searching for any sign of pity in his expression. She found none. What she found instead was quiet respect. something no one had ever offered her before. Over the following weeks, Cassian made a choice that shocked the entire kingdom. Rather than hide what had happened, he chose to bring it into the open. He called for a public gathering, inviting every noble family who had witnessed the failed trials, along with pack elders and members of the court who had long looked down on Omegas like Ren. Standing before them all, he told the truth. He spoke of the suppressed bloodline, of the years of hidden history, and of his own beast's undeniable recognition of Ren as his true mate. Ren stood beside him, her hands trembling but her back straight, refusing to let herself shrink beneath the weight of so many staring eyes. She had spent her whole life being invisible. She would not disappear now, not when the truth had finally been given a voice. As Cassian spoke the final words naming her his Luna before the entire court, something within Ren shifted. A warmth spread through her chest, followed by a strange and powerful energy she had never felt before, as though something long dormant inside her had finally been allowed to wake. Gasps rippled through the crowd as a soft glow surrounded her, subtle yet unmistakable, confirming everything Cassian had claimed. The very nobles who had once dismissed her without a second glance now stared in stunned silence, unable to deny what stood before them. Ren felt no satisfaction in their shock, only a quiet, steady peace. She was not seeking revenge. She simply wanted to be seen for who she truly was. In the months that followed, Ren settled into her new life slowly, carefully, still adjusting to a world that had once ignored her and now looked to her with respect. She did not become someone else overnight. She remained thoughtful, humble, and quietly strong, the same qualities that had carried her through years of hardship. But she no longer carried the weight of believing herself worthless. Cassian, for his part, found in her a partner who understood him in ways no noble-born suitor ever could. She did not seek power or attention. She simply wanted honesty, kindness, and a life where she was never made to feel small again. His wolf, once restless and unsatisfied through years of failed trials, finally found peace beside her. Sometimes, when the castle grew quiet in the evenings, Ren would think back to the girl who once scrubbed floors in the shadows, unseen and unheard. She did not resent that girl. She understood now that even in her hardest days, she had carried a quiet strength that no one had ever bothered to notice, until the one whose recognition could not be ignored finally saw her for exactly who she was. And so, the Omega once called worthless became the Luna the entire kingdom would remember, not because a king chose her, but because she had never truly been what they claimed her to be at all.